Good morning, everybody. It's a wonderful morning. I'm going to see whether I've got all my controls going. Let's do the snowball. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Good morning, Brent. Hope you're having a good day. I did discover that I could open the expanded settings on the webcam in Skype. So I can do the woo, woo, woo and try to adjust this, but I'm discovering that if I turn the gain all the way down and brightness all the way down, and you still don't see me. So there's got to be a certain amount of complete washout we're going to have, I think. Nothing we can do until I actually get a lighting rig right here, which is probably what I really need, is some kind of lighting rig. Which is okay, we'll do that. I've got pretty much everything else sort of set up for more of a permanent sort of thing. Hey, Raph! How you doing, man? Welcome to the show. I'm going to be working today on Fred's game book that we've worked on before. We've got to finish up the last few pages on this. So we're going to be doing that like we've done before. Hopefully, Fred will see it and join me at some point in time. That's my wife there. And the other, she's on some kind of meeting somewhere, and I think I'm hearing that be picked up over here. You know, I agree. It's nice to be working. At some point, though, I think I'm only going to work for about 1 hour on this because I do want to work on some of my... That's cool. You do you, man. You do you. I know you'll be here. I know you'll keep me company. It's all good. You've got kid duty. I've been on kid duty before. That's not as fun as it should be. So, anyway. So, yeah, like I was saying, I figured out how to get to my webcam's controls over here. So I got control of the webcam, but I still seem to have like this complete washout right over here. It's really kind of funny. So we've got double Brent now. So there's double Brent going. Okay, so here, let's go on ahead and get started. No time like the present, right? There we go. Yeah, I am starting to think that Facebook is having a bad hair day. Is what I'm starting to think. Because I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. But we look like we've gone solidly into screen share at this point. And we're comfortably in screen share. I'm going to leave my communications controls up and my webcam controls up so that I can get back to it whenever I need to. But I also need the Afterworlds book, so there's that. So if you guys stop hearing me talk, or in this case, stop hearing my wife's meeting in the other room, give me a holler. I assume that once everything gets back to normal, it'll just be me and you guys hanging out your drawing. Let's pick ourselves a nice, decent blue. Now, the instructions on this are going to say Wuzzies in action. So, get my sketch pencil out because I like my sketch pencil. Now, the Wuzzies are little fuzzy guys. Fuzzy Wuzzy, right? Yep, wifey meetings. So, my thought here is you kind of want to have not Ewok level, but Ewok level. So, so what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about the idea of maybe having this Wuzzy like this, right? And he's jumping off of something right here. right? And both legs going backwards like this. And the head will be like this, right? And he's got maybe like a hatchet, right? Which probably won't be like that. It'd actually be this way, wouldn't it? So that's fine, right? And make sure we got our shoulders in here like this, and the arms are going to come out like that. We've got this hatchet. Right? He's jumping off of maybe he's jumping off of the bed of a truck. Right? So we got a truck back here, and the motion of him jumping is going to make the truck jump. So it's going to boing like this, spring like that. The wheels stay static on this, but I want to make the truck feel like it's bouncing here. And actually, I'm going to turn the truck this way. And it could be even a trailer, right? It doesn't have to be a truck. It could be a happy little trailer. Happy little trailer. Could be a truck, though. And some flatbed truck. And I'll straighten this out later, right? The Wuzzy is jumping off of it and springing upward. He bounced up onto it like right here. You know, he's up like this, and then boing, and then he's up like that to spring off of it like this. And then there's this guy down here, and he's looking up at the Wuzzy like, what? Right? So we've got like, his body is going to be tilted like this, and he's going to be crouched down, right? At least one leg will be crouched down. We're going to be, the action line is going to be like this, right? And he's going to be holding up like a garbage can lid. That's going to stop the axe, right? We all know that. And he's like, whoa, dude. All right, garbage can lid. I think that'd be kind of cool. This is post-apocalyptic, so, you know, I kind of like anything that's post-apocalyptic in its nature. So here's the garbage can lid. And he's like, oh my God. All right, so we're going to, one hand is backwards like this. And then this leg is this way. This leg is also bent. He's preparing to be hit right in that garbage can lid. Right? So there we go. This is my thought on this one. That's right there, because we're looking down. Looking down. Right? It's a little guy. Little guy's bouncing off of the truck and landing on this guy's garbage can lid. So, garbage. That way I know what I was drawing. When I come back to this picture later, what the hell was I talking about? Yeah. So I'm going to make sure that the truck stays in line with this. It doesn't have to be straight up, but I want it to be as close to in line as possible. This also allows me to give some more altitude to my Wuzzy. Here a little bit more. Like, seriously, getting some air up here. He is ready to fling that onto people and just seriously bring down an axe of doom onto this guy. So, there we go. That one's going to be a fun one to draw when we get to that stage. Okay, so we're going to save this. And then we're going to go to the next page. Next page on this. Uh-oh, did we lose sound? How about there? You got me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? There we go. Oh no. The beard is going away. So many people are shaving their beards, and I'm thinking, oh boy, I don't know. I actually did not have a problem with beard growing. I've always had this goatee because I've got, thanks, Kat. Hey, welcome to the show, Kat. We're discussing beards. For better or for worse. Anyway, yeah, I've always had a goatee because I've got one of those round faces that if I take the goatee and shave it off, I look like I'm a 12-year-old with gray hair. So there's kind of that, and that's a thing. All right, group shot. This is a beach scene with a surfer and a Nuki and a Gwyn. So the Gwyns, as I recall, at least the Gwyns are... We're on page 127. The Gwyns are penguins. So these are half penguins. Yeah, I get that. It's a thing. What I'm really looking forward to is I've gone way past Tashi Station to get a power converter. So I am looking forward to the day when I can cut my hair. Because usually I keep my hair pretty short. And just before all this went down, I went through and said, you know what? You know what would be great? I will get my hair cut after this is all over. That's all right. Got the beautiful mane going now. Okay, why is 126 not on my list? I don't know what he was after. Okay, 127. So it looks to me like the surfers are Aquaman. And yep, easy if you can just stick a razor to it. But I look funny if I do that, so there's not that. I don't get to do that. And the Nunaki, or maybe it is Anunnaki, are kind of old, grizzled guys. So, looks like, okay, they're cone heads to some degree. Wrinkly cone heads, which is cool. Not a problem. And then the Gwyns, they're penguins. So, we have a cone head. Really, for me, yeah. Hey, did you pass your test, dude? I assume you passed your test. Make complete stops. I actually didn't think about it yesterday. I should have given you okay, it's tomorrow morning. Here are the things that I would recommend, because these are the things that trip people up every time. Make sure you make complete stops. And I always stop, and then in my head, I just count 1, 2, right? After you know you stopped. Because that's the one thing that trips all of us up. It even trips us instructors when we were doing instruction. I'm going to switch back to camera real quick because I want to talk to you guys about this because this is important, right? One of the things that we do as testers is we look past the mirror on the driver's side to see if the ground is still moving, even the littlest bit. Because if it's still moving even the littlest bit, that's 3 points off on the test. So, yeah, well, you can do 2 seconds. You don't want to wait too long because you'll irritate the drivers behind you. But yeah, I usually just do, as soon as I hit stop and the car kind of creeps back a little like that, I go 1, 2, and then go. And that's the way it goes. And that ensures that I make a good stop. Also, remember to stop at the stop bar, get your stop drink. If there's no stop bar, stop at the crosswalk. If there's no crosswalk, stop where the crosswalk should be. Yeah, see, David, on the other hand, just sits there and like sips his coffee while people are honking behind him. This is why David, has issues. We know that. It's all good. So, yeah, make sure you do your stop bar. Get your stop drink at the stop bar. And then if not the stop bar, the crosswalk. If not the crosswalk, then you make a crosswalk. And then you stop there. Give room for my kid. It's my kid. That whole rule is set up because of my kid or kids like him who just bolt across the street all the time. So anyway, those are my 2 recommendations that are common mistakes that people make that people don't realize they're making, but they often do. It's harder. Well, yeah, because you're on a motorcycle. But it's harder for adults because especially people of my generation or up to people who were driving up through the 90s, so up until about 2001 or 2, because we had a rules change on stop signs and things like that. And so they expect you to know the new rules and stop signs. So there's that. So those are my recommendations. So, yeah, you've got to stop at the stop sign. Don't stop at the stop sign. Stop at the crosswalk. Stop at the stop bar. Get out. Grab a drink at the stop bar. I tell my kids these things, and it works because they remember. I tell them to stop for Mr. Squishy. Mr. Squishy is my 10-year-old because he runs across the street because he's got right of way naturally, but he doesn't realize that he's squishy. So he's the kind of people you're stopping for. Those things, yeah, remember to signal. I mean, that's kind of a given. So, I mean, that's obvious. So, first available. Remember to take your first available lane. It's the closest lane to you on the right turns or the closest lane on the left. So, make sure you take your first available lane. Turn lanes are not first available lanes. That's why we say first available, not closest. And his closest lane might be a turn lane. You don't want to turn into the turn lane. So, well, good. You've got then the hand signals down. So it's a plus. Okay, I gotta get back to drawing. But there you go. That's all the advice I can give you as a driving instructor who does testing. Except that I don't do testing, but I watch all the other people do testing. So, well, then you're just going to get hit. You know that, right? I tell my kids on Drive 1 that the most important thing we need to remember is that there's only one law you can't break when driving. There's only one. And that law is no 2 objects can occupy the same space at the same time. Everything else is a gentleman's agreement. We all shook hands and said, hey, we're going to do this, right? We're going to do this, right? So everything about driving is about being as predictable as possible. Because if you're unpredictable, that's when you start to get into problems. So it's the advice I give you, man. Except for David. David's not a winner. I'm sorry, David. I just, I did the random draw, and, that's what happened. I'm kidding. Okay, back to drawing. Speaking of random draw, right? So, Yeah, defensive driving is actually what we teach. If you practice defensive driving, you can literally cut 98%. It's like 98% of your accidents out. And I'm not kidding. I mean, it's like defensive driving is totally a thing. I've been defensive driving. I learned defensive driving when I was 18 years old. And because I had to, because I was such a horrible mess on the road. And my mom, who was a probation officer, said that I either paid for my own insurance or took defensive driving. So I took defensive driving. So, anyway, I took defensive driving when I was 18, and yeah, actually, I took defensive driving when I was 18, and since then I've had 3 tickets in 30 years and 4 accidents, and none of them were my fault. It's amazing how much of a difference defensive driving it makes. So, anyway, it's astonishing. But yeah, when you're 18, man, I had gotten most of my tickets between the ages of 17 and 18 because I was a hellion on the road. That's where they all were, David. They were all between 17 and 18. I didn't get tickets with my accidents because they weren't my fault. I was rear-ended twice, once by someone who was texting and driving, once by a drunk driver. And I hit, I rear-ended somebody who was on I-70 and the merge lane, and she had stopped instead of merging with traffic. So I was doing my over-the-shoulder check, looked back, and she was at a dead stop. So I hit her, but I didn't hit her hard. I only bent my license plate. And I spilled her coffee. And that's what we did. So the cops let me go on that one. Because that was Arvada and Wheat Ridge. They both said, the Arvada cop said, we have a rule, we have to give a ticket. So you want to be in Wheat Ridge's jurisdiction. Because they said I could pick which jurisdiction. But they said whoever hits whoever, it doesn't matter. They were going to give me a ticket anyway, even though it was clear she stopped. She even admitted she had stopped dead on an on-ramp. And then the 4th accident was something very similar. I was on I-45 in Houston, heading northbound out of Galveston. And at the Highway 59 exit, which is the exit where to Victoria, and the traffic had stopped on 59, but hadn't stopped on 45. So we were doing a good clip. We were still doing 70 miles an hour, and the last guy on 59 decided, screw this, I'm not going to sit here, and he got right back in front of. So you have to also understand. The exit for 59 is a left lane exit. So it's in the fast lane, and he decided to get back on to 45 doing 10 miles an hour right in front of me doing 70. So I bled off enough speed that I only hit him about 10 miles an hour. I didn't even deploy my airbags. It might have been a little bit faster than that, but it wasn't a lot. Didn't even deploy my airbags, but it really messed up my little Rio. Now, the guy said that I wasn't giving enough space, but luckily the UPS truck behind me, who hit me, had a video. So, had a camera, onboard camera. So, he got to review, the cops reviewed the camera footage and found out the guy just merged right back into traffic. So he got the ticket and I didn't. So I'm not kidding. I've been in 4 accidents, and all 4 of them, in none of those 4 accidents was there ever a ticket issued. Now, I'm knocking on wood here because, who knows what will happen in the future. But when I tell my kids about the accident on 45, I tell them about the fact that the biggest reason that I got into that accident, even though it wasn't my fault, was the fact that I didn't keep my checkerboard open. So I didn't have an emergency dodge to the right. I saw the guy get into my lane, and I looked to my right, and I had a huge 18-wheeler. So it was either strike the guys that were stopped on 59, run over the 18-wheeler, which that wouldn't have ended well in the Kia Rio, or strike the guy that merged into my lane with me. I chose the latter of the 3. But had I left my checkerboard open, which is to look at the road like a checkerboard and stay only on black squares and pretend that you're in a black square and keep all the other cars on black squares, had I left that checkerboard open, I would have been able to make an emergency maneuver to the right and gotten out of his way. Anyway, so yes, I'm not kidding. I've had 4 accidents and didn't get a ticket for any one of them because I've been defensive driving. Now, defensive driving is not a panacea. I have known, there have been even a couple of our drivers in our school who've gotten into accidents. You can still get wiped out when you're not defensive driving. So here we go. I'm going to have a Gwen lying here like this, sunning himself, being happy, with Bermuda shorts on and glasses. And he's happy, and the Anuki's sitting under his tattered, destroyed umbrella. Here, this is a beach scene. Being grumpy. He's going to have sunglasses on too. He's waving. No. I'm fine. Thanks. I'm good. It's all good, man. It's fine. You going ahead. You go surf. This guy's like, I'm ready to go hit the waves, dude. Come on. Join me. I've got a surfboard. I'm ready to go. Right? He's like, I'm good. Come on. Don't be such a crazy guy. Don't be an idiot. Join me. The water's fine. So, at the moment, Bellatrix Rising, I've been writing every night. Because writing is really hard for me. And I am about ready to start the first script. This week, maybe next week. So once I have a script, then we're going to do prep work on the script. And that's what's going to happen here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start making what we call, or what I call an ashcan version of it, which makes me a lot happier when we do that. I can place all of the page information out and stuff like that. So it's going to be we're going to be doing that, and that'll be a lot of fun. So that's next week's job. Right now the real reason that I'm doing this for multiple days is it's good. It gets me working. I feel like that I'm kind of, you guys are kind of holding my feet to the fire on this one. And by the way, nobody here is required to stay here. I appreciate you guys keeping me company and stuff, and that's always awesome. But don't feel like you got to stay here. That would make me feel bad. So, do what you need to do. join me or don't, that's cool. I know that you're here in spirit, even if you're not here, and that's cool. But yeah, we're going to start Bellatrix Rising next week. And you're starting to see what I'm going to be doing with Bellatrix Rising here. You're going to see me put together these roughs in Blue Line. That'll help me decide what I am doing in real space. So that'll help me. Well, you know what? Half of this today is going to be a little bit of Bellatrix Rising Infect itself. So you're going to see part of what I do on this one. So I want to finish or figure out. Well, I've got to do a figure out thing. So I don't want to hold you guys online while I'm trying to figure out stuff, because that seems like that's mean. But we're going to be doing some figuring out of Blender, because I've got to UV map the ship. So we've got. But first, let me finish this guy real quick. He's here. These are two surfer guys, so they're like standing here going, "Come on, dude. Join us, man." They've got gills right here, and they got gills right there. So they're like totally saying, "Join us, man. It'll be fun. Come on, get in the water. It'll be cool." And the Anuki over here is like, No, I'm good. It's all fine. It's all good. It's fine. Come on, it'll be good. So, well, you can stay here all you want, my friend. You can stay here. I suddenly thought about, I keep saying I use this as keeping my feet to the fire, and I don't want people to feel like that they have to. They have to be here, So, put some clouds in back here. Got the beautiful ocean behind them right here, Got this ocean, yada, yada, yada. So, there we go. We got the Anuki sitting here, and Gwen lying out here sleeping. He's enjoying the heck out of this. And we got two surfers who are like, "Hey, come on, man. It'd be great. You loves it." There we go. Now we'll just clean this up a little. We really don't want that to be too far over the edge. I might use these as the master files. Actually, what I think I might do is this. There we go. We can center it more. And I can add more things here at the bottom. It'd be funny. It'd be funny if they were sticking their beer in the sand. Like, that's going to help. So, I don't know what these guys are doing. But either way, there we go. We got a beach scene. That works for me. Okay. So I do have a question for all of you guys who are on here. When I start working on the comic itself, I'm sure kind of cool is better than not cool. I don't know. Anyway, also seems like you're just trying to drink sand at some point in time. Okay, once I get to working on the comics, what I want to know is, where do people fall on the idea of knowing everything about the comics? For example, right now, I black out all the text and things like that here, but when we get to comic making, there is a lot of, we'll be pretty much putting the whole thing, Witches of Flame is temporarily on hiatus for two reasons, but I'll get back to that in a second. So my question is, I do a comic page. You're going to know everything about that page. Is that okay? Should I put like their spoilers? Should I put a spoiler warning? What should I do? What do you guys think? So, something to ponder on that one. So, Witches of Flame is not dead. People keep asking me about where Witches of Flame is. You know, the reality of this, David, is I couldn't find the angle to get the characters to talk to me. Cool. I think that's probably better that way too. I think that at some point in time I'm going to sell these comics, but you'd have to kind of go through a lot of convolution to see all of it that way. And I don't know. Anyway, David, to answer, I couldn't get Witches of Flame. I couldn't get it to speak to me. It wasn't speaking to me. I've got the story. I've got the plot. But I couldn't get... that makes sense, Kat. That's a good option. I like that. But witches wouldn't speak to me, so I'm not here. I am... Where am I? Here. No. I am here. 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 That's where I want it to be. Man, we've got a long ways to go. I'm glad I actually have you here, Kat, because you do this regularly, the streaming your artwork on pages for your book. So I have never actually heard you pronounce your book. Is it noir? Is it like noir? Is it pronounced like N-I-O-R, except with a, like, how is it pronounced? Because it occurs to me, I see it all the time, but, I've got dyslexia sometimes, so I probably am going to spell it, pizza, or pronounce it pizza, if you give me long enough. I've got a friend who does a comic that's called Sven the Invisible Burrow, and I keep seeing it as Sven the Invisible Burrito, and I swear she wants to throttle me after a certain amount of time. I thought it was funny at first, but now she's not finding it as funny anymore. So, there's that. Okay, looks like the next page is, in fact, noir. Right? Because, see, I see it as noir. And I can see noir. Okay. Hey, you got a couple of people here. You wanna put that up on like the AL. Nah. So like nah or. Hey, Kat, put your information up here. So, okay, the next page up is this page, which I'm going to have to black out so that we don't have text broadcasting out here. I'm sure you can probably kind of get some of this, but... There we go. There we go. All right. This is the last one. Or no, it's only 10:40, so we've got a couple of them. Let me go back in and share the screen for you guys. All right. This one's pretty straight up. I like these little guys because they're just filler art. Makes it easier for me to do this. So what we got here is we're going to put Nuki floating in the lotus position. So it's pretty easy. All right, let me just go through here. Hips rolling this way. Yeah, there you go. I should join your Twitch thing. I really should join your Twitch thing. So, lotus position is one of the most painful positions ever. I'm just saying. Right? And then we'll just make sure that it's obvious that he's floating just above his little carpet here. By the way, how is that going on the Tezuka Shonen Jump? I am curious. Technically speaking, I think I can go and do this. Right? I can do that and pop it up on the screen like this. So that's the Twitch channel. And then I gotta scroll all the way back down. Here's her Instagram. So, and she's an awesome artist, by the way. So it's fun. I can't watch all of her streams all the time, but I love looking at her art. Which, by the way, Kat, I just recently discovered that I'm supposed to actually be loving all of these things, otherwise they disappear. So, yeah, there's that. I'm just saying. So, it's all good. Right to left. You're welcome, my friend. You're welcome. Theoretically, I can do the scrolling ones too. But only if I'm using StreamYard, which StreamYard's it didn't have as many options as Restream does. I love Restream, which, by the way, if anybody goes and uses Restream because of me, tell them that it was me, because there's apparently a referral program. Who knew? And I can use the referral. Because I can use any advantage I can get. But I just discovered the referral thing today. So there's that. Anyway, Restream, I like Restream a whole lot better because I can get to 30 or so 30 or so different streams at the same time. So I can hit both of my Facebook pages. I can hit Twitch. I can hit both my YouTube pages, and that kind of stuff. So I really like Restream. But StreamYard's the one that allows you to do the scrolling things. I can do basic ones. Like I could do these kind of various things like this. I can find these, but they don't scroll. Well, I don't know. Maybe they would. This is a scrolling test of awesomeness and quick brown pizza jumped over the lazy burrito and and beat him at the rate. Okay, so that's the end of it. I'm curious. Yeah, so that's all we got. That's what we got. So I apparently cannot do any more than that, and it won't scroll. So it doesn't matter what we got here; it won't scroll. So that's the end of that. Okay, that's right. But I can do things like that, right? And if I've got time, I've done this before, right? So that's Raph's Twitch. He was on here a couple of days ago, so I could do that. Anyway, I'm going to get back to work while you guys are chatting, because you guys can chat. That's cool. Anyway, so the Inuki here is doing his little lotus position thing. I want to make sure I have rotated his body a little bit. So it's not obviously straight on. That's just a little too on the nose. So I'm going to do one ear here and the other ear you're not going to see. And it's going to be more like this. And that's where he is. I'm Namah Shivaya. I'm Namah Shivaya here. There we go. All right. So that's what we got. That one's easy. That one was an easy one. We'll turn the camera back on. And then I will kill this. I will kill that badly. And then save. And then close. And then open. $33. You're welcome, Raph. Hey, oh, well, for those of you who did not see that, I'll add that to this too, because he's talking about it. There's Raph's Twitch, RM Banhand. And so there you go. There's that. Okay. He wants a Nuki action shot. So we got these like conehead folks, right? So maybe this is, like use the Force Luke sort of thing, right? So if we were to take this Inuki and, here's his hand and stuff like that. And he's doing this, and you just see wow, 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 right? There we go. We got kind of this going on here, like this. So he's just Zorch. No. Denied. Right? And maybe he's got an Inuki kid right here. He's like protecting who's freaked out, right? And a little freaked out kid. Oh God, what are they doing? Right? I mean, I could do the traditional action shot, but why do that when you could have a story, right? So, got a little kid right here. Terrified little kid. You're not actually looking at the screen. You're watching the back of my head. Hey, watch my screen. Terrified little kid. This will be fun. There we go. Much better. You know, I thought about wearing my RTG shirt today, and I didn't. I didn't wear my RTG shirt. So RTG is Red Team Go. That's what we used to all be part of at one point in time. You know, I really like this, and I just discovered that I botched it. You're on the wrong layer. Again, that's all right. It's not a major deal. I'm going to have to do this. Because I kind of like this, but I want more. Oh, so our stuff on Twitch doesn't stay? That's important to know. That's an important thing to know for Raph and I. Our stuff isn't staying up there, dude. It's not staying up there. Which I guess is okay. Yeah, it's kind of if you want to see you come to our YouTube channel. I don't know. I'd rather it stayed. That'd be much, much better, but that's all right. One of these guys can be goofy. I'm okay with that. All right. So we got a Nuki here, and he's doing the no, you can't do this. Can't do that on television, right? Wow, 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 wow. It was just like wow, 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 wow. It's gonna make that noise. Wow, 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 wow. Well, that's, you know what? That is totally cool. I'm okay with that because I'll just make a banner that says if you want to see these videos later, you can watch them on YouTube at GS Davis Art, because that's where my YouTube channel is, and so it's all good. And you can head out to my YouTube video or YouTube channel, or you can join me on Facebook there too. So it's all cool. So that works. That's what I like Restream about. This is the thing I'm really liking about Restream, and I'm looking pointedly at you, Kat, because you may be wanting to do this, because it's broadcasting this right now to Twitch and to Facebook and to YouTube all at the same time, and they're all receiving it. I'm actually even broadcasting to my Picardo account. The only thing it doesn't do, and nobody does this, is go to Instagram, and I'm waiting for that. All I want is Instagram. Is that so hard? So, anyway, we don't have Instagram. We know that. This little arm right there, he's like holding on like only little kids can do. All right. There we go. So you cannot, because you've got an affiliation, right? That seems like bunk. I think we had this discussion before. I feel like I'm having deja vu. Like I completely forgot that you told me this, and now I'm remembering it again because I'm old and my brain doesn't hold things for very long anymore. I'm sorry. And that's the way it goes. So, we have this Anunuki. So, I mean, my feeling is, because I'm actually noticing that Twitch has been doing the, would you like to be affiliated? And what I'm learning is, no, I do not. I just want to keep broadcasting to Twitch. And I think this is the lesson I have learned from Kat, as I don't want to be affiliated. Now, Kat may want to be affiliated, and that is totally fine. I'm okay with that. This is not a judgment of character. But I'm thinking that I'm learning my lesson here. I'm not going to affiliate with Twitch because then it would make me undo my restream and I'd be all aggravated. But I mean, part of this is that I don't have the time in the day to do 12 broadcasts. One for Twitch specifically and one for Facebook and one for... I'd be spending all day switching social media accounts, I think. I feel like that's the case. I might be wrong. I might be totally wrong. But I feel like if you want reach, and that's what we're looking for is reach, then that's against the idea of getting reach. That's my thought. And I think all of us do things differently. That's true. You could just go everywhere but Twitch, and that'd be fine too. And maybe your world would have been different if you had discovered Restream before affiliating with Twitch and stuff like that. And I get that. That's cool. Well, it's a thing. It's totally a thing. Okay, so we've got this one. I'm pretty happy with where this one's going right off the bat. I think this is pretty good. This tells me exactly what I need to know. We've got a big Anuki with a little Anuki here, and that's fine. And I think this is going to be the last one we're going to do on this particular one. And we're going to move on to some Bellatrix Rising stuff, because I want to get into that real quick today as well. Because one of the things that I'm going to be talking about tomorrow is that I'm supposed to have had 3D assets figured out. So we're going to talk a little bit about our 3D assets, right? So we go over here to Bellatrix Rising. Right, and in here we've got all of the things. I'm actually going to stop streaming so we can talk about this. We've got all the things that go to Bellatrix Rising, all the assets and things like that. And so I've got a number of bizarre little pieces here. But the thing that's really getting me is this Unity Corvette, right? Somewhere along the line, I'm going to use this Unity Corvette for the hero ship, and so I need to figure it all out. For those of you who have not seen the Corvette, here, let me upload it for you. I'll share the screen again because you can't see because everything's all washed out over there. So this is the Kittiwake, and this is the hero ship for Bellatrix Rising. And I'm going to move around here. I am having problems with steering today. It's just a problem. It's a problem with steering. So... here we go. The Corvette has... No, that's very small. That won't help me any. I have a 3D model of this Corvette that I've been working on for a while now. And this helps me... First of all, it helped me design the ship because I wanted to get a good idea of what was going on in the ship. How many decks does she have? How many, what does the bridge look like? Where is the bridge? Just basic concepts like that. I need to kind of grasp what's going on inside this ship. Float plane, huh? That's interesting. So when we look at the Kittiwake, this is part of what I've got to think through is the logic of. I've got this upper fin, which clearly has rooms in it somewhere. It's not very wide. I'm of the opinion that there's probably a shuttle back here, a small shuttle, but the Kittiwake can land on her own. So she doesn't actually need launch at any time. The only thing I could really think of is that the Kittiwake needs, maybe a potential. She'd need a small launch, So I'm assuming that there's a launch bay back here. So there's a small launch back here, maybe one. And this is only for, hey, we've got to shuttle these boxes to your ship. Okay, I'll launch my small launch. And that works. But I'm looking at the size of the ship. This is one deck. We've probably got another deck that goes through the center section like this. And then we've got a primary deck, which goes all the way out into the wing. There's a crew of about, I would say it's got a crew of about 15, maybe 20 on board tops. There's not that many people on board. But I'm trying to make this much more like Navy service ships and less like Star Trek service ships. And, you know, you have even the large ships today, you know, carry the biggest ships, the carriers, carrying about 3,000, 4,000 people on board a ship the size of the Enterprise. And the Enterprise had 430. So clearly they're packed in a lot more in the military and the Navy ships. And I like this to be much more of a Navy feel. So, which our fellow Marine could probably at least appreciate. Well, I don't need to talk to you. That's pretty okay, actually. I'm good. So there we go. So we've got the Kittiwake is a Corvette. That's what the FS stands for. FS is the naval abbreviation for a Corvette. I think that stands for fast ship. But that's what the Kittiwake is. And so moving along here, we've got 287 is the number. That means absolutely really nothing other than just it's a number that I thought of, which is good. At some point in time, I was expecting or thinking that my crew would probably evolve past the Kittiwake and onto a destroyer or something larger to match Tamerlane. But really, I've kind of just enjoyed the fact that the Kittiwake is the Kittiwake, and she's kind of a little pesty ship, and I like it. So I think I'm going to hold and leave the Kittiwake as the main ship, because there are very few stories out there that take place on a Corvette or something smaller, or something smaller like a Corvette, with the exception of the old PT boat stories, which were from Vietnam and before that, and World War II. And I think that there's always good stories about that. But in the Kittiwake, you could have stories, and you could pretty much know everybody that's on board this ship. Now, one of the key things about the Kittiwake, let me go ahead and launch DAZ Studio, because we're going to look at this model in 3D. One of the key things with the Kittiwake that's important. Yeah, actually, there was. In Picard, we got the La Sirena, the siren. But I also didn't feel like that was naval. I mean, I really enjoyed Picard. I really enjoyed it a lot. But I don't feel like that was a naval story. I feel like we had we were doing sort of the almost a pirate story. You know what I mean? And I kind of feel like with that's fine, but I like the idea of the naval feel. See you later, Kat. It was good having you here, man. Talk to you later. I feel like with the naval feel of, I like the naval feel. So it allows me to, I've got to actually concentrate for a minute here because I'm really screwing this up. Okay. Let's open the Corvette. There we go. All right. Ooh, right there. Let's take a look at this scene. bring over Daz. Close the content library. We'll close the parameters because we don't need them right now. Okay. Now, when we look at this model, I'm trying to assess the volume of the vehicle, right? This is where we are. Just trying to assess the volume. The next thing we're going to do with this, by the way, is start to map her. But in order to map her, I need to know, where are we on things, right? So I'm thinking we are roughly at the, well, we may not be at the right scale. Because these squares should be, are they 1 meter by 1 meter? They might be 2 meters by 2 meters, at which time this is probably an okay scale. So these squares will operate good as measurement. All of this is part of the job, right? We say create new primitive. We bring up the, where did you bring it up? Where did you put it? There it is. Create new primitive. Create new primitive. They're 0.5 meter. Okay, so let's talk about 1 meter squares, right? Because this will tell me whether this is the right size or not. All right. So the grid is 1 is a meter by a meter. So those are meter squares. So I think that our model is a little small, right? Which is important because we're going to need to, I want it to the right scale. So we're going to increase its scale. Until it's the right size. And you might be wondering, why is that important? Why is it important to make the ship the correct scale? Especially since, obviously, this is becoming a pain in the butt to scroll out, right? There we go. And the reason you want it at the right scale is because when you do that, the camera will give it the right effect, right? So if we look at the default camera here, this camera is set to, there we go, we'll go to top view. Put everybody on there. This camera here, I can move this camera in, and if you're standing, like, let's say you're standing right here, right? And you want to look at the ship, this is the way you would see this ship, right? Come on, select that and go. Now, back to the top view, grab the camera, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd that camera go? I lost him. He's off the plane quite a bit. Anyway, these boxes. Where'd the camera go? I lost my camera. He's over here somewhere. There he is. Went way out there. Come back. I have to find you. There we are. Okay. When you're here and you're looking at the ship like you would if you were standing here, okay, really? So this is the game we're going to play. Oh, I swear. So the camera should actually be set for 22 millimeters. It works. Focal length. We're going to set that for 22 as well, right? So this is like what you would see if you were standing on the dock with this ship and you want it to look right, right? This is you standing underneath this ship right here. If you were standing on the dock, that'd be what you get, right? And you'd want it to be monstrous and huge and make it feel like you're this little guy over here, you know, you got nothing, right? Because big ships are big. Anybody who stood on the dock next to a Navy vessel knows exactly what I'm talking about, and I know at least one of you understands this. But standing next to these big, massive objects is intimidating. So I set the scale of this to be correct. I want to set the scale of this to be correct so that she feels big. And there should be at least 2 meters of, you want it to feel large, like you're next to something huge. Right? Yep, I think you understand better than most, my dear friend. Get her landing pods correctly matched up. Okay, so I'm also going to do a front view. I'm going to select you. So this is the DAZ tool for a line here. I like the fact that the front view is actually the back view. And that doesn't surprise me, I guess. This is the nature of my life. This is the way my life always is. Okay. Now we're going to move the landing pods over. The Kittiwake only has 2 landing gear. She only has her after landing gear. She can use the landing ramp, the launch ramp on the front as a landing gear if she needs to, especially when the power's off and she powers down. But most of the landing bays that she usually lives on, like a Starship's landing bay or like the Polaris, which is the mothership that holds her, they have gravity locks right here and right here, or magnetic locks that hold those the gear down. And then they have physical locks that just come up and over into the gear and hold the tie downs of the gear down. So once the ship's tied down, she's tied down. She won't go anywhere. And she doesn't need a whole bunch of landing gear for that. So she really only needs a landing gear when she touches down on a planet, and I have moved the landing gear forward. They don't need to be that far forward. Okay. We're going to do this again. Work. Work. Okay. Now, put that back here. And put this back here. The center of balance on this ship is right through the center right here. So I want her landing legs underneath the center of balance. The Kittiwake is my design, so I mean we can spend some time on it because this is part of my creation process. I love having a 3D model of these ships. Makes it so much easier to get a good design or a good idea of what the picture should look like, and it's how I can make pictures that are correct artistically. Like otherwise, I will spend so much time redrawing and redrawing and redrawing. It's far easier for me to just, where did I go? Just simply take a snapshot of this and then run over these lines. But I'll even take it a step further. And that is, at some point here, and not very long from now, I'm going to take the Kittiwake and I'm going to map her. And when I do, we're going to end up with a ship that can be just rendered straight into the comics. And I'll show you how that works too. Right? I'm going to take this and because it's wait. No, save. Oh, crap. What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing, people? Open. Now, I'll show you in the Tamerlane. We've got this going for Tamerlane. Right? Let's see here. If we look at this. Uh-oh. 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 There we go. That's fine. We don't need that. There we go. So this is the end result of what you. This is the Tamerlane. So my first run on this never worked so well. Does she have a Marine contingent? She has a small Marine complement of about 6 people, I think. But again, with a complement of 20, she doesn't really need a lot of Marines. She just needs really just MPs for the most part. And straighten her out. There we go. Woo! Let's not do that. I want to rotate it around like this. So I learned a lot since the last time I did this. I built this model from scratch. Yep, she's got Makos. I built this model from scratch. And what will happen here is this. If I say render, the rendering thing comes up over. Yeah, there we go. There we go. And that's what she looks like. Right? And since I hand drew this, I drew the maps for this. And I hand drew them all in, well, I photoshopped them, I guess. I didn't really hand draw them per se, but I designed them all myself. I can use this, and it looks like it's a technical drawing. And what I'll have to do is, I'll have to go back in and I'll smooth out some of this stuff so it doesn't look so weird. And then I'll add a drop or a stroke around the outside, which will make it look like it's got a drawing along the outside of it too. But this allows me to do this with my ships and make them look like makes it look like I drew her. And then makes it really simple. I can have, right here, all I got to do is this, And then the next scene, we've got to have the ship right here. And that's easy enough. It makes it really easy to add in these scenes, right? Now I designed this guy and everything like that in like 06 or 07. So this is like the worst possible model. And you can see it because it looks like it's inverted up here. And that's because of the fact that the normals are flipped. And every time I try to get the normals back going the right direction, we just mess up the model really badly. But since she renders fine, I really can't argue. So I just put up with the fact that the normals are flipped the wrong way and stuff like that. So this is how we do this. This is how we're going to make it work. I also have a color version of her where I've actually gone into the maps with markers and colored the maps with my markers. So she can actually be colored up really nice and even look like she was done by markers. So that helps a lot. For those of you who've not been following my Tamerlane comic, the Tamerlane is a single nacelle destroyer. And I really wanted to go with a story arc that was more of a smaller ship. And I still feel that way. The problem that we ran into was that I can't sell these comics, and I've done almost 300 pages of Tamerlane comic, and that's a tankobon, and that's the size of a normal tankobon. And so I kind of feel like that's a lot of not wasted time, let's say, because I learned a lot, right? I learned how to do this process where I added 3D objects into my drawings to make the backgrounds easier, to make, all of the splash pages easier. And it cuts a ton of time out. Which is good because when it comes to producing comics, especially if you're producing them by yourself, anything that can cut time down is great. What I have had a ton of Tamerlan stories that are still left over. And I was like, well, I keep producing this comic, but I can't do anything with it, right? I mean, I can't sell the comic. I can't promote the comic. I really can't do anything. So what I did was I took the remaining, and I think there's like 15 or 16 Tamerlan stories, and I moved them over. I did the Orville. That's what I did. I essentially did an Orville. I took and moved over all of the remaining Tamerlan stories into the Orville, except that it wasn't the Orville, obviously, but I did that. I'm writing my own version of it. So the Kittiwake is effectively the Tamerlan. That's all. She's not any different. It's the Tamerlan. So it's going to be. I get to do, but I get to do all the stories. So all the 15 stories that were remaining from Tamerlan have been moved over into Bellatrix Rising, and all of those stories are just going to be retold there, where I wanted to tell them before in Tamerlan. It was a little hard because a lot of the prompts of the stories that I came up with came from using technology from Star Trek. So I've got to reinvent the technology in Bellatrix Rising. A lot of it was asking questions about the morality of their technology. So there's a couple of them that had a certain, they were asking questions about certain things. So that's what I'm working on now, is I'm trying to kind of get to this point where all the Bellatrix Rising stuff still asks the same questions, can still put them in the same moral quandaries. It's difficult because one of the stories literally is asking the questions about the Vulcans and their stoicness and their adherence to logic. And so I have to pivot that into something else, because the whole moral quandary is centered around the Vulcans being stuck in this logic mindset and doing the logical thing. And it's a great story, and I love it. And so I'm going to have to pivot it to one of the groups in Bellatrix Rising and make it a social adherence. They adhere to this process because of their religion or because of their belief system. It'll still hold the same meaning. It'll still hold the same concept. But I can't really create a race of people who are totally logical, because you'd see right through that and go, sounds like a Star Trek story to me. Sounds like you're just aping Star Trek. Anyway, there are a lot of other things. I'm highly, highly influenced by Macross. And I am epically influenced by Macross. And so, androids. Actually, like I said, I'm not gonna. It'll be fine. I pivoted it, but I love. Not only do I love the artwork of Haruhiko Mikimoto, and I think that this is like the bestest thing ever, but I love the idea that there's a city, that they're moving a city around. There was something wonderful about the fact that they had the cities, and the ships were flying around in the cities. It is not. It's not far-fetched at all. Absolutely. And I'm not saying that it, but I already pull a lot of story concepts and arts or concepts. I mean, I have to have transporters. I have to have holodecks. I have to have. I mean, because I'm asking those questions in stories about these things. So I've already had to do a lot of that. The good news is I don't have to take warp drive. So I don't have to worry about the warp drives. And so since none of my questions involved the engines of Star Trek, I was able to freely. Yes, I am wearing a Malcon shirt. I was able to freely move from that, and I added all kinds of stuff that I'm enjoying. The Kittiwake has hyperspace sails. So you need a character that's a sail master now. So you have a sailing master. And I went into deep detail about how the sails work. And then they've got a fold drive, but only the big ships can fold. Only the really, really, really big ships can fold. So what it does is it gives me a nice little operable way of doing this. I've got a large fold ship, and it's got a city in it, and all the ships that it's got an entire battle group, or maybe even 2 battle groups that live inside that ship. And then this entire stack will fold. And then, hey man, how you doing? Good to see you. So, that's sort of a thing. Yeah, in the design that I've got going on right now with the story, the fold generators are about 1 kilometer in length, so you wouldn't really sneak in. You couldn't really sneak up on people, so there's that. But there could be a Black Ops cruiser whose whole job is it's the 1 kilometer fold. I've got that H there. I don't know what that H says. Hi. I'm assuming that's a hi. Oh, there's the I. Hi. Hi. Oh. So, we're talking, for those of you who just joined us, we're talking about story creation and design. I'm the artist of a comic that I've been doing for many, many years called Tamerlane, which was a Star Trek fan comic, and I have been pivoting it. I've been pivoting it to be more of. I've been pivoting it to my own IP, and that's part of what's going on here. It's very similar to what's going on with a number of the various Star Trek fan films. I used to be in the fan film community a long time ago, so this is all about me taking my ship here, the Tamerlane, and pivoting her over to form the ship, the Kittiwake, which is what we've got going on here. I'll share the screen so you can see it, kind of get an idea of what's going on. So this is the Kittiwake, which is my hero ship right now for my new story called Bellatrix Rising. Brent asked earlier on in the day during the broadcast, what's the status of Bellatrix Rising? What's the status of all of my current comics? And so I'm giving kind of a status report, which is good because I've kind of run out of steam on my commissions, and I want to work on this a little bit here. So that's where we're going on this one. So explaining a little bit about where we got to where we are is where I am at this point. So that's what's going on. I'm working right now on discussing how I pivoted some of the technology. I've been writing on Tamerlane since 2005. And so there's a number of scripts and stories that just never made it to the page. The comic itself you can find at gsdavis.com or gsdavisart.com. And it's under the comics tab, way over on the far right-hand side. So you can hit the comics there and go see it. there's about 300 pages, which I realized is the size of a normal manga tankobon, right? So, Alaska Bot is telling us fun facts about Alaska. Okay. So, this is about 300 pages, give or take. These guys here, these tankobon. So I like to get. I suddenly realized that Tamerlane could be one of these, and I could be selling these at conventions, and I could be selling these all over the place, but I didn't because I don't own the rights to Star Trek. Logically so. So I assume this means that we can summon bots in here. Okay, yeah. Are we going to talk about Alaska? I've never been to Alaska. I've been to Hawaii. I've been to Hawaii a couple of times now. My wife's family's from Hawaii. But, yeah, I've never been to Alaska. And so Alaska's great. But, kind of a thing. So, anyway, so that's where we are at this point in the stream. So that's an interesting thing. So let's go on ahead and head back here. I'm going ahead and share my screen again. So we talk about the Kittiwake. Yeah, I kind of want to see the Kittiwake in action too. I'm trying to figure out where are her weapons, right? So we look over here. Because this is an antenna array. In the original Kittiwake design, my stepmom has cerebral palsy, and I appreciate that a lot because I've seen her have definite issues with mobility and everything like that. And so we're talking about two different things here. So yes, I understand you. I hear you with cerebral palsy, man. I really do. She apparently, because she's older than me by quite a bit, apparently when she was in school, though, she had a teacher who forced her to write in cursive every day, over and over and over, and she hated it and hated it and hated it. But she got to the point where she managed to make the neural connections to train her hand to actually stay stable. And she's got beautiful handwriting right now. I mean, I'm amazed that it worked, but it did. It worked very well. She hated that teacher. She hated that teacher. But I also think that drawing is just part of it, part of the skill. It's all about storytelling too. I mean, storytelling is the critical piece. I can teach anybody to draw, but telling the story that people can actually be interested in, that's the true talent. So you don't have to be able to draw in order to tell a story. You could tell a story by putting Legos together and sticking them on, taking pictures of them. Here, I'll show you, because I actually was doing something similar to that at one point in time. I'll give you an example of that. Right? I mean, here's where you got it. Like, I just took pictures of Lego dudes. Right? So it's the story that's important. It's not about your drawing skill. Anybody can do drawing. Any fool can do drawing. Oh my God. See you later, man. See you, Raph. I'll see you tomorrow at 11, my friend. Maybe 11:10 or whatever. Which reminds me, to all of you people who are watching my stream, there will be, I will only be doing 1 hour tomorrow so that I can broadcast my goals with Raph tomorrow at 11. So you can join that stream as well. But yeah, Holo, I'll just call you Holo because I like Holo. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about not being able to draw. That's cool. Anybody can draw. Anybody can draw. Tell a story. It's all about telling a story. Okay. Yeah. So we get back to the Kittiwake here. One of the things I think I want to do is I want to put a rail gun underneath her, but it'd have to be a spinal mount, so that because it'd have to be on her spine. But rail guns are cheap and easy, and I mean, as far as like electricity and power goes, it doesn't take a lot of power to run a rail gun. So I've been thinking about putting a rail gun under her. But really, at space normal speeds, the speeds we've got in space, guns just don't work. The only thing that's logical to have any kind of guns would be something similar to the PDCs that you get in the Expanse. And the idea would be to just throw enough shrapnel downrange that the missile hits the shrapnel instead of hitting your ship. But Newton is a nasty, nasty, nasty person in space, and you really don't want to be throwing slugs around and filling space with slugs going high speeds, because you have to fly through that somewhere along the line. So either you develop shielding that protects you from the slugs that are flying through space and at high speeds, at which time the slugs don't work against each other. So your ship-to-ship's not going to work. So you don't really need them at that point in time. Or, you just accept the fact that, sometimes you'll be flying along one day and you run through a bunch of slugs. And that's the end of that ship. Yep. Enveloped plasma is not a bad idea. But again, we're talking about distances, right? So the Kittiwake is launched. And she's flying at, I don't know, let's say just 5% the speed of light. 5% the speed of light is still, 250,000 miles per hour. So, you'd have to, if you fire a laser at that point in time, you're going to have, first of all, the laser's still going to travel light minutes. I mean, if I were to shoot a ship that was orbiting the sun right now, it would take 8 minutes for the laser to get to it. Right? Huh. Yeah, enveloped plasma, they probably do have a plasmatic shield of some sort. In fact, I kind of like that term, plasmatic shield. I will credit you for saying plasmatic shield. David came up with this. Plasmatic shield. So I look at this and I'm kind of thinking, well, that's well, these ships actually have also, by the way, these ships have a special motivation. They're using the carrot drive or the donkey drive, whatever you want to call it. There's a specific type of science fiction drive where the ship projects a black hole in front of the ship. And since the ship is projecting the black hole, the ship falls towards the black hole, but the ship's projecting it, so the black hole moves, which allows the ship to continue to fall towards the black hole. Then the black hole moves. And then, so that's kind of how these ships work. It's called the donkey drive or the carrot drive. And the best part about that is you've got a black hole in front of you. If anything is in your way, it gets sucked into the black hole. I am sure that when they release the black hole at the end of their travels, they've probably got a chunk of, hydrogen ions and a whole bunch of hydrogen atoms and junk that just has been crushed into its infinitely small space, and you've got this super dense rock that comes out up there, depending on how long they've been traveling. Then they travel in hyperspace. They don't need to worry about it then. So, okay, we talk about a little bit about the kittiwake. I need to bring this up. I need to move it over here because I need to open the Corvette. There we go. And move it back. Okay. So when we look here at this guy, we now have the ability. That's the left view, huh? Yeah, there you go. We now want to look at how many. So that's why I'm saying I think I want to put down here. Yeah, but it would dissipate because it would have a ton of mass, but it would dissipate rather quickly because it doesn't have enough fundamental mass to actually maintain. So it would be kind of cool because you'd have the black hole in front of them with the warped space. And then as soon as it releases it, you'd have a star for just a second. And then the star would dissipate. Because all of that would be held, but it wouldn't have enough mass to hold forever. All right. We know that these guys are not the right size. So I'm going to delete them because they are not the right size for a 1 by 1 by 1. So this is the next thing we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a primitive, a 1 meter cube. Actually, we're going to make a 2 meter. No, 1 meter cube. We're going to make that here. And the big thing we've got here is I can't tell what color that thing is, so I'm going to take its base color and make it purple just so I can see it. People. Right? There's another cube in here, and I can't see him either. So I'm going to make his base color something, anything. It doesn't matter. Something where I can see him. Right? So that's 2 meters. Or about 6 feet, give or take. So this is the height of an average human right there. So we're still too small for the size of this because we need to make this guy still bigger, right? So if we increase to, let's try 7,500. There we go. Now we're looking a little bit more like the size I think we want to be heading for. Because I think I want this nose, the nose should be 2 meters. You should be able to be in the bridge up here in this forward dome. With headroom. So we even need to go a little bit larger. There we go. There. So now we've got room for a normal person to be standing in this forward deck. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to go here, and we're going to go here. So we're going to do this, then the left view. This allows me to now check to make sure that a person could stand in this forward deck here, right, through that section. And then we're going to move through here, through the back. There's one deck. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move us back just a little bit, and I'm going to take this and do this. There we go. Now we haven't even talked about the landing struts. They're back here. So let's do 3,000. Oh, that's too big. That's too big. We did it too big. Okay. Landing struts at 2,000 as well. All right. There we go. Okay. Now, all I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit the render button. And I think that my renderer is set for NVIDIA. And I can tell this because it's taking forever for it to render. Okay, that's not really what I wanted. Because it's going to take forever. That's okay. Okay, you know what? We don't need this. We don't need NVIDIA in this. So what we're going to do is we're going to just zoom in a little here. It takes forever because of this. And then I'm just going to control print screen, right? And then we'll start a new. It's all over here. Start a new tabloid because that's usually the size I operate. And turn 9 degrees like that. And then I'm going to take this and then I'm just going to cut and paste. Okay. Now we've got a side view of the kitty So you can see now. Okay. There we go. Now, we don't need to have a beautiful view of this ship yet. Right? I'm not really terribly concerned. This is one of my rough draft concept ideas. So we're going to go through here, and one of the things I'm going to do here is I'm just going to select this 2-meter box like this. And on this separate level, I'm going to make that. This tells me right now that I can put a deck here. And this would be a tight deck. So this would be any struts or structures or anything like that would be, it would hit you in the head. So we don't really want that. We're going to go to about here. And then I'll extend that up like that. And this is our new deck size. So there we go with the deck. So then we've got one deck. We can have another deck here. And moving around like this. And then I'll move this up one more. And now we can get an idea of what's going on in the ship. Right? We've got 3 decks, obviously 3 decks that we can use that are 3 clean decks. So moving this like this, I'll duplicate the background, put it on top so that I can just sort of do this number like this. And then I will add our deck design. So we know that this deck probably really starts here. Hi, we're on the wrong layer. Or what are we doing? Painting in white? What are we doing here? What's going on? Or is it very, very thin? Oh, it's very, very thin. So CIC for this guy is right up on the nose. I know everybody's like, why would you do that? Because it actually flies. Since it's airborne and actually can get into the atmosphere, it's one of the jobs of these ships is to be airborne. That means that there's that deck, and this deck's probably going to be right about here and then closed off, right? And this deck goes all the way to the nose, and this is probably also our shuttle deck back here, because it's probably what's going to happen is it's just going to open up back here like that. And then, of course, the primary, I'm just going to go through here like this. So this is probably all shuttle deck back here. And I'll just get rid of this line. Okay. So the bridge is, there's a forward bulkhead plate through here, which gives, it's actually all virtual. It doesn't need to be anything other than, in fact, really what needs to happen is there needs to be a pilot house up here. And that's probably really what it is. There's probably a pilot house up here. And the pilot house has steering control of the ship when they are in dock. So there's that. And then this deck right here ends there. And then this deck ends all the way at the front like this. So now we are looking at a viable deck plan for at least the side view of how big these decks are. And what can allow it, what will happen here is I will start to be able to build a deck plan off of this. So we will go on ahead and first thing we're going to do is clear our guides point. They really just don't. Clear guides. There we go. So like I was saying, I like the idea there's probably actually enough room for another deck below, but it really, this is going to be a machining deck anyway. Here, it's all going to be machining and machinery and all of that stuff, because this deck can exist, but it's only about this big. And really, all it is a landing deck, a prep deck. This is probably where our Marines live, you know? I mean, I hate to be mean to the Marines because, you know, Marines are cool, but that's the nature of the Navy, is to stick the Marines where they can, A, be easily deployed, and B, where they're stuck on, like, the hull of the ship. Not an uncommon practice throughout the year, but... And I know that Brent feels me on this one. This is one of those, Brent feels me on this one. That's what the Navy does all the time. Stick the Marines in spots where they're like fodder on the hull of the ship. Okay. What this allows here is this. Now we've got the basic layout of the decks. Inside here, we're going to go ahead and just trace the rest of the ship's strong back through here, because this is all going to be machinery that helps on that. And then up through here is where we will ultimately be putting in the railgun, and that actually closes up like that. I know you're sitting there going, but it doesn't. It does. It's just there's a wing in the way here, and there's an engine right in front of this on this particular picture, so it's hard to see. But the hull has to be able to, back here, take the landing gear. The gear folds just up against the hull like this, so it's not like it has to hold the struts inside completely, but it does have to hold the actual standing struts so that they will be aerodynamic. It's funny how everybody makes fun of the Enterprise for being aerodynamic or having aerodynamics or whatever, you know, why it is it not just look like a Borg cube. And the answer really is it looks good on TV. But in the case of the Kittiwake, she actually does have to fly through atmospheres. So there's a certain amount of making sure that the Kittiwake can be aerodynamic. She has to push through the atmosphere. I'm in Tamerlane, the story was that Tamerlane was often used as a police vessel. She was not very well used or anything like that. I mean, it was a peaceful world. It was Roddenberry's PC universe, and the destroyers were just gunboats. They were filled with phasers. They were filled with photon torpedoes. They were nasty, and they were way, way, way underpowered for what they did, because they only had one warp nacelle. So they only had one power plant. So the whole idea was they would get into a fight and fight until they burned out, and then they would leave. And that was the nature of like how it worked with Tamerlane. And that was my version, my interpretation of the story. So I'm not continuing that logic with Bellatrix Rising, but I do like ships that don't have your hero ship world. They're not. This isn't the perfect hero world here. Okay, I'm going to finish this here. We only have about 4 minutes left of my broadcast. I'm going to take now that other Kittiwake picture that we got. Where is that big Kittiwake picture? I'm going to open that one in. I'm going to open it here in Photoshop and just take it, copy. I'm going to paste it in on this. And what we're going to do with this guy, I'm first going to turn that off. I'm going to bring him up and rotate him 90 degrees. There we go. And we're just going to extend this all the way out until we're in the same spot. Lined up. And what this is going to do is this is going to tell me right here where all these decks lie sideways on the side of the ship. Right? Because here is our deck plan for the side. Oh. Okay. Really? So that's the way we're going to play it. You're on the wrong layer. That's all right. I'm not that worried. Okay. Now you do this for the side. And this makes it relatively easy now, right? Because now we know that this deck only goes that far. And this deck only goes this far. Right? So if we talk about the decks that are up here, now we can actually kind of get an idea of where these decks are rolling out. So this deck, so we've got one deck that goes all the way to the front through the back, but I don't think that this side piece is big enough to hold anybody, but it could be one of those just kind of curved sides, right? So we can kind of do deck one kind of comes around like this. And I'm just doing a rough idea. And it may get wider back here, but I don't think it really will. So it's just going to go all the way back to here and back. Right? So there's that. And that's the primary deck for the bridge, or for at least the pilot room. I might put the bridge up here. You may be onto something. The bridge might be actually like after, like right here or right here. I wouldn't put it back here, because if we have a fire control problem with the shuttle returning to the shuttle bay,
you don't want the CIC getting wiped out. So it might be dead center here. That'd give us some protection on the top with this arch on the top. This could also be part of the research, or like the scanning equipment and things like that. It could be in this little bubble, this dome here. So that's going to be all up here, because this guy is. We'll just take this guy and move him down, or we won't. That's all right. You do you, boo. Go down here. Actually, I didn't need to move it. I didn't want to move it. There we go. That's what I want. This deck here only goes to here, so we'll look at where that structure is. We'll go a little over today, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm okay with that. Take my little... Hi, you need to move. You need to move. I want you over here. Because this tells me what 2 meters is. Or, I guess, 2.5 or 3 meters. That's what that tells me. So we're going to select all of this, though, and let's move it down a smidge, just so that we don't have it. There we go. We're going to have some room up here to build these decks, because that's the primary deck, but it's still pretty. There we go. And turn this off. Do this. Move the ship up just a hair. Turn about there, because this secondary deck is going to be... Why are we having such trouble here? Okay, so this deck starts here and goes back to here. And this is the shuttle deck. So it's going to have, part of this is going to be in it. But there's no landing bay there, so I don't know why. There's no landing foot on that. So this guy goes here, here, and here. And that's this. That's the second deck through here. The important thing is going to be this line, which is going to tell us where that landing bay is, that shuttle bay. Because one of the things I can tell is we've got a shape difference through here, right? I can see that we've got like it's even when it's 2 decks high, it's not going to be 2 decks high through the entire shuttle bay. So it's only going to be 2 decks high through here. So that's where your sweet spot is for landing a launch in here. Is through this little section through there. I'll put this all the way through like this. I think that'd be better. Let's do that. Okay. All right, guys. I think I'm going to call this good for right now. We'll get back to working on the Kittiwake tomorrow, and we'll finish her deck plans. And that sounds like something fun to do. And we can talk about the deck plans for the ship and how we do them and things like that tomorrow. And we'll clean these guys up, because we're going to have to put the lower deck in, the machine deck on the bottom and stuff like that. So there's that. I appreciate you guys all joining me today. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow at 10. Again, I'm only going to do 1 hour tomorrow, and then the other hour is going to be with Raphael as we talk about what we wanted to have done for the goals for the week. This is part of that. Doing the deck plans for the Kittiwake is good. Thank you for indulging me as I prattled on and talked about random things. Again, I'm here every day at 10 o'clock in the morning, Mountain Standard Time, or Mountain Daylight Time. I can't remember what we're on. Mountain Time. So if you're if you're showing my age, if you're dialing in from somewhere else, then that's where you'll find me. So Okay, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.